Hello my friends and internet family, followers and everybody who stumbles up upon this video somewhere on the net. I'm everywhere. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, So have fun with it. Here's Trisha Galore, and I thought I'm going to make a video that is a bit different this time. I'm going to talk about a legendary corpse. Who would ever think that I would be interested in death? I mean, I go ghost hunting for Christ's sake, so of course I'm interested in corpses and legendary corpses. Yeah, because most of them were legends in life, and of course what happened to them after they passed on is sometimes so unspeakable or extraordinary that you just have to tell the story. You can't believe it really happened. And so I thought, okay, who am I going to start out with? And you can't get by this lady that is just the queen of all mummies, basically. Eva Perón, Evita. It's like her story is the stuff that not just movies are made of, that musicals are made of, books are made of. That's like, I don't want to say Cinderella story, because in a way it is, but what happened to her after she passed on is more horror story actually. And when she died. So she was born. Let's talk about a woman first, her life and how she started out. She was born Maria Eva Duarte in Junin, which is a part of the province of Buenos Aires, and in 1919 on the 7th of May. And she was created by a man who was already married, man that her mother had an affair with. And in those days, in the early 20th century, there was nothing to be proud of. There was a quite difficult start in life. I mean, many were embarrassed that were the reason they were on this earth. And still she conquered not just Buenos Aires, not just Argentina, she conquered the world. People are still talking about her. People are still praying even to her, think she was a saint or see her as a saint. And because, as a first lady, at the end of her life, she did a lot for very poor people. Her shirtless, how she called them. And they loved her, and they still love her. And for only the best reasons, really. So she became first an actress in the 1930s, and at that time, Buenos Aires was called the Paris of South America. Very beautiful city. And like I said, she became very, very famous. And she met in 1994 on a party Juan Perón, who was a politician. And they fell in love, started an affair, got married a year later. He was imprisoned, and when he got out, he was not just elected president of Argentina, he became the president of Argentina, and she became the first lady. So in the beginning she was a very glamorous first lady, still probably being a movie star a little bit. So very glamorous. She traveled the world, in 1947 she went on a world tour and met famous politicians and famous people in Europe. So that was really, world tour, European tour probably more. And she was received with the greatest honors when she came back to her country. And then she kind of changed, she became very conservative, and she started to fight. She became very politically involved and started to fight for the poor and did a lot for them and wanted to do a lot for them. And I'm sure she would have done if she would not have become sick. She became very ill. In 1950 she started to faint and stuff, and she had cancer, and cervical cancer actually, and she died from that. She passed away on the 26th of July in 1952. Well, now see, that's already where the problem started, when she became sick, because her husband, her loving husband, knew that she was the key to his power. And he lied to her about her illness and about a lot of things that were done to her during that period of time, when she was like fighting basically for her life, but she did not know what was happening to her. He kept it a secret. And he kept quite a few treatments she received against that cancer a secret. I think she was one of the first who actually got chemotherapy. And they found out later on that she actually had a lobotomy done to her brain, not knowing that she had that done as well. That's what at least has been told. So he lied to her about a lot of things. And after the lobotomy, she became a different person. Many people say she was very energetic, very powerful, very very much in control and very much a fighting person, she had a fighting personality. But after that lobotomy, that changed. She became, actually, one of them said quite pathetic. I mean, quite crying and very depressed and everything. But she was also very sick, to be honest. And besides the fact that they messed with her brain. Well, during that time, again, her loving husband, very loving, already contacted and planned with other people what happened to Evita's body after she passed away. How could he use her body to keep in power, as an instrument? Which is horrible. In my opinion, that's out of line. Everything what happened, even, after she became sick, is out of line. That he lied to her and had things done to her that she did not even know what they were. And then to already plan to use her body, her dead body, as a political instrument is wrong. So he contacted a man, an embalmer, that is actually called Pedro Ara, or was called Pedro Ara, and he already waited in front of the doors while she was dying. Taking her last breath, he was already out there. And as soon as she was dead, he started to embalm her. While her personal hairdresser did her hair and her makeup and her nails and everything for the funeral. So he embalmed her quickly at that time. And the funeral was held, she was on display. She was they viewed her, had a viewing, a long viewing. For Ara's taste, a bit too long. He was really concerned that the long viewing would kind of be the cause of her body decomposing. So he didn't want that, of course. So after all of that was said and done, he started to embalm her again. This time for a year. Imagine a year. I mean, what can you do to a body? I mean, how much can you do to embalm a body that takes a year? And a hell of a lot of money. I think it was $1 million back then. Today, I don't even know. It's crazy to spend that much money on something that she never consented. She did not want to be embalmed, and he still did it. Her husband had her embalm him, Ara. So he went, like I said, I think a bit weird on this one, because he even coated her body, I think twice, with a very thin layer of plastic to stop bacteria from hitting the skin and just starting to decompose her body. Besides the fact that he constantly let out the fluids that he put in to replace the blood, and then put the embalming fluid back in, and basically turned her into an everlasting mummy. He really did. She appeared like she was sleeping. She was really looking good. I have to say that. I mean, from just looking at her, he did a good job, a too good job, basically. But he did what he was told, and there are quite a few stories out there that he did more than he was told, but I don't want to get into that. That's just creepy. I mean, the thought of it is horrible. So he looked over her body while she was on display after that year of embalming in her office, and people came really crazy just to look at her. One person even tapped her, I think it was a woman, and said she sounded hollow. Well, you're not supposed to tap the body in the first place, show a bit of respect, right? But they thought it wasn't real. She looked really like a marble statue, basically. But it was her. It was her body, though. And in 1956, I think it was, yes, her husband, Juan Perón, was basically driven out the country, had to flee the country, go into exile by a military group that took over control of Argentina. Well, like every loving husband, I say it again, he left her body that he turned into, let Ara turn into, a mummy, an everlasting mummy behind, fleeing the country, going to Spain. And Ara kept her. Mr. Ara kept the body, of course, until it was stolen by the military government of Argentina, because they feared that because Evita was still there, her body was still there, that they were driven out the country because Perón came back, because his followers were still loving them and would probably fight to get him back because of Evita. Now they stole her body from Pedro Ara. So they stole the body, put it in a van to drive it somewhere in some graveyard in Argentina or Buenos Aires to just bury it secretly. That didn't work out so well though, because they had the body in the van, drove through Buenos Aires, and the driver stopped, fell asleep, and when he woke up, the van was actually surrounded by candles and flowers. So, her followers knew she was in there. Bad thing for the government at that time. They didn't want that, so they took her, put her in another van, again, try to confuse the people driving her around. The man stopped again, fell asleep, woke up, and the same thing happened. Candles and flowers around the van. Now what to do? Of course, that government decided to put her in the attic, in a trunk, store her there for about a year. I think it was a year. Yeah, year. And then they decided it was too dangerous to keep her in the country, to stay in power. She could not stay in that country. So they sent her off to Italy, to Milan, and buried her there in an upright position in a too small coffin. Very respectful, I have to say, where she stayed for 15 years. Well, in 1971, Juan Perón, who was still in exile in Spain, married again during that time, Isabel Perón, who later became the president, the first female president actually of the world, and the president of Argentina. So they discovered Eva's body. She was actually buried under the name Maria Maggi in Milan. So they dug her up, of course. Well, legend says they put her in a bakery van. I don't know. I've seen a documentary about it, and they put her in a hearse. You said a horse. Oh my God. Anyway, and drove her to Spain. Now you might think she's going to be buried now. A proper burial. No, that did not happen. No. What did they do? What did Juan and Isabel do? They put her actually in their dining room on a table next to their dining table and kept her there. Her body was still very, very well preserved, just some damage to the nose, a little cut here, and her toes, because she was, buried in an upright position, and that was a bit, caused a bit of damage, but everything else was really like it was before. So they kept her in the dining room, again, like every loving husband, or in that case, a widower, would ever do to his wife, keeping her there. Isabel, his third wife, washed her hair every day. Well, not her hair, Eva's hair, Evita's hair. So, and styled it. She actually, they say, she cuddled with her to suck up her, Evita's political energy. Yeah, that's going to happen. You're going to cuddle with a corpse, and the energy magically will transfer to you, the political energy. Imagine having your breakfast and the dead wife of your husband is laying next to the table. That is just no way that would ever happen to me. Well, it happened to Evita, unfortunately. So, in 1973, Juan Perón came back out of exile, went back to Argentina with his third wife, Isabel, and again, like every loving husband would do, leaves the body of his permanently preserved wife, Evita, behind in Spain. Why didn't he take her with her? I mean, and gave her a proper burial in her home country, Why didn't he do that? No, he left her behind again. Yeah. So he was actually again becoming the president of Argentina. And his now wife Isabel became then the first vice president. Yeah. Then Juan Perón died in office in 1974. And yeah, what did they do? They took Evita's body that was still in Spain and flew it to Argentina and had Pedro Ara do the same thing again. He restored her. That was the damage that was done, was restored, and Lord knows what he did to her again, but they put her on display again, while the third wife of Juan Perón became the president. She was on display. I mean, Evita, again, after being dead for 25 years, nearly 25 years, she was back on display. Looking good. Still being like, you thought she just died. I mean, laying there next to her dead husband, Juan, who was in a closed coffin. She was in an open one. On display. And actually, Isabel planned to have a mausoleum built like Juan once planned for Evita, to put them both in there and keep Evita on display. Again, as an instrument of political power, That's how she was used. How horrible is that? So that never happened because, again, she was thrown out of office, so... Then, finally, in 1977, Evita was buried. Finally, well, she was put in the tomb, her family tomb, Duarte, in Buenos Aires, in actually a tomb that can, well, they say, I don't know if that's true, but they say it can actually, survive a nuclear bomb. So, how long can you preserve a body? In that case, like, what, forever? Why? Well, because, and she's buried 20 foot deep and quite a few layers in between of concrete and probably metal, I suppose, or lead, just to prevent her body from being stolen by still followers and people that love her, maybe, or people that want to use her body again to gain political power. Okay. See, that story is so horrifying. In the beginning, it's beautiful, in the girl that was born, out of an affair and, becoming the first lady of Argentina, becoming so loved that they gave her the nickname Evita. And that's a fairy tale story, and then it ends up like this. I mean, just... why did they do that to her body? That's just unbelievable. But it happened. And that's actually what's making her a legendary corpse. A legendary corpse. Like, you can't get by her when you talk about this. I mean, like I said, so many documentaries, movies, and books have been written about her. Musicals, I don't know. Madonna played her in the movie, I think actually brilliantly, I have to say that. I like that movie. But if you think about what happened to Evita's body after she died and during she died, it's not right. It's just not right. And I hope this will never happen again to anybody else. How much really can you use a person? I mean, it's just to me disgusting, really. What do you think about this? What do you think about Evita, her story? What do you think about her, what her body went through after she passed away, and what she went through during she passed away? What has been done to her? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know what legendary corpse you want me to do next, and I'll do it. I really enjoy looking into this and finding more out about like Lenin or Rosalia Lombardo. So I'm sure you all know who that is as well, the Sleeping Beauty of Palermo. So, but let me know what you think about Evita and what legendary corpse you want me to talk about next. Enjoy your life, stay healthy, stay happy. Wish you only the best, you know that. I love you. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for staying until the end, and hope you liked it. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said, leave a comment, come back, and I see you soon.